So, hi everyone, welcome back to our second episode of Afternoon B with the business school team. Last week was obviously just a starter episode for you guys. We had some great feedback from it. We hope you all enjoyed it. It was a tester for us, a tester for you guys. So, hopefully, now we're a bit more, I don't want to say experienced in it, but we've got a bit more professionalism to us, maybe. So, for this episode, I'm going to hand over to Toyin to introduce. She's going to be the head host as such, and we're going to run through a few of her topics. So, Toyin?
Oh, hi guys. So today we're going to have a bit of a discussion around how to build your networks and create opportunities. And whether or not you're in business, whether you're freelance, I think when it comes to networking, I think it's a bit of a bugbear, and it's something that you're either really good at, or it's kind of I have to kind of go and do this. And I'm sure we've all got scenarios in terms of how we've approached it and what we've done, how we've overcome it. So today we're kind of between us, we're going to be discussing our experiences of networking, some of our horrors and some of the funny things that's kind of happened to us, but also giving you some tips on how you can kind of go back to networking, creating those networks, but also creating opportunities, because ultimately, by networking, what the end goal we want to have is to open new doors, meet new people, and hopefully find potential projects, potential job opportunities, and so forth. So whatever the angle you're coming at, hopefully we've got something from here for these guys. So kind of thinking about my own experiences, networking. I'm just not a great networker. Although I can talk, I'm really great at talking and stuff. When it comes to networking, I just kind of, I tend to walk in a room and just head for the buffet. If there's food, that's my place. I tend to just kind of just surround there and just kind of just, look for food and just eat that. And then hopefully someone will come and join me. And then, there's always some kind of common ground that you have when you kind of meet someone over a buffet, that you can then have a discussion about the croissants or the Danish pastries, or how bad or how good the coffee is, or how amazing the spread is, So, but over time, I've kind of evolved, and I've got better at networking. But these guys, what your experience has been, and how have you kind of managed the whole kind of networking?
Oh, full of anxieties. When I had my own business, and I had to sort of do the PR and the promotion for it, I was fine. I'm absolutely fine when I'm talking, business, or there's a service, or I'm negotiating, or, that kind of connection with people. I'm absolutely fine. And like you, Toyin, obviously I love to talk. So that's fine. But when it had to come from that sort of self-promotion and, not convincing, but sort of making people believe that sort of element of it, or sort of self promotion or product promotion, all that kind of stuff, I would just get tongue tied, and I could have a script, or I did the prep and everything like that, but then when it came to the moment, that would be it, and I'd just be like and I just get sweaty palms, I just, and it's and people are always quite surprised when I admit things like that. I think I was thinking when we started having this discussion of one scenario that is stuck in my head, and it's quite recent actually. It was probably a couple of years ago, and I went to one of the sort of Rise London scenarios, and I was in a bit of, I think I was either just coming back from my maternity leave or something. There was a transition sort of period going on where I was, sense of self was in a bit of displacement. And then there's these three amazing women completely inspired me that, I wanted to connect with them. And it was when I was looking at sort of initiatives and everything within the business school. And I had this whole sort of spiel ready as such. And then I got in front of her, and my sister came, and my sister worked there at the time. And I just completely lost it. My sister was watching, and I was standing in front of this person, and I could not get my words out to tell her what I was trying to achieve. All I wanted to do was connect with her. And just say, look, we're looking in different initiatives. She was like, yeah, great. So what? And I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about the so what.
It's
it was just like she wasn't.
Pitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Time telling the students about elevator pitches, and it's kind of like when you actually kind of get in a real life scenario, it's kind of like,
Yeah. And then it was like this again. I didn't leave a hook. There was just like, I had something came out of my mouth, but then she was like, "Sounds great. What do you want from me?" And I was like, "Good point. Or I'm just going to slither back in the background on that one." So I think the so what. I forgot the so what, or the hook, or the and.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was.
I think that kind of relates to that idea of, do you go solo to these things, or do you bring someone with you? Because I've tried it both ways, and it's one of those things where it depends who you're going with. Because if you go with someone and the aim of the game is to network, and you're both in that space, and you're like, okay, we're going to get the train together, but we're going to arrive and then we're going to split ways and do our thing, but we've got like someone in the room we know, like for the support, the eyes across the room, and that's worked quite well. But then if you do it the other way, like you say, like you brought your sister, and then there's that feeling of like two worlds colliding. If it's someone that's like a best friend or someone that knows you really well, and you're trying to go in with your business head on and do your business speech, and then you suddenly feel like, I don't know, I think that's when you start to feel like more of an imposter. I think when there's somebody watching you that knows you.
Who are you? What happened to Fran? The Fran that I know.
Yeah, and so then you're like performing to two completely different audiences, and I think that's a real mind mess, isn't it, trying to do that? So I think if you are going to go with someone, you've got to go with someone on the same terms, I think.
Sure. That's
also the whole kind of danger of going with someone is that you just don't network. I just kind of just cling on to my friend and just kind of, let's just hang out together in the corner and just eat stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of, the ultimate goal is to go and speak to other people, but you end up just standing, my thing was I'd go, hang out with my friend, have a couple of wines, and then go, should we go and get some food from somewhere? And then we'll bugger off. And it's kind of like, oh no, I was supposed to go talk to some people.
Yeah, that's why it's such a fine line, I think, because as you say, it's too easy to fall into that comfort zone of being. And the other thing of it, the flip side, I thought was like, what if the person you went with was really good at selling themselves, and they're just there selling, getting clients, sending business cards, and you're just there like, oh shit, just look like a PA to them or something. So it's like, I think you shouldn't get in the habit of taking someone on, and unless, like Fran said, you're both on the same terms, you both know you're going there for that reason, you meet afterwards, you talk, you connect with who you've spoken to throughout the day. But I don't think you should take them as like blanket cover just in case, because it's so easy to fall into that thing of just a layer of protection, and that defeats the point of networking in a way. You could have spoke with that friend or gone to the pub with that friend any other time. This is the time to network with other professionals.
And I think when it comes to kind of, sorry, Charlotte, you say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with sort of following on from what you guys were saying, I think I have got one person that I network really well with, but we always have a common goal. It's for something that we're working on together. So it's like we'll divide and conquer the room. So we'll do the glass of wine for a bit Dutch courage, have some nibbles, but only half a glass, because otherwise that gets messy. And then we'll basically split the room, and we'll do like a the digital version of a business card sort of thing, and we'll say let's see if we can connect with a couple of people or find a couple of interesting things out. So it kind of makes it a healthy kind of challenge as such, and it's sort of and then you sort of work through them, and then we re-meet back at the wine table, get the other glass of free wine, and then toodle off. But yeah.
And I think that's a really good point you make there about goals. And I think when you're kind of thinking about going to networking events, it's really important to kind of have some kind of focus. It's like, well, why am I going? What do I want to get? And whether or not it was me working, in a company or working freelance, it's kind of like, okay, I need to go, I need to meet, sometimes, if you have the opportunity, you might get a list of attendees before you go.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, I'm going to talk to that person, I'm going to talk to that person, I've got something coming with that person, so you kind of have a goal. It's like, right, I'm going to go, I want to kind of introduce myself, have a conversation with these people because I've got things to say to them, or there's things that we can kind of work together on, or maybe we could scope out some opportunities, but also kind of looking at, my brain's just gone.
Do you if you've got the list, have you ever been so focused that you've done sort of a quick background check?
Oh yeah. I love a bit of
research. But then that's the problem. How far do you go? It's like, do you find out what their job was, or do you find out what their aunt had for breakfast last week? No, there's got to be. Well, I think just strictly LinkedIn. Strictly
Yeah.
LinkedIn. That's my barrier.
I think a good LinkedIn scroll, that's a good one, just to see like professional things. But also if they've, they're kind of usually on a panel discussion, someone's got a particular angle, they've chosen them to have a specific angle. And I always like try to research into something they've written or an article or something on that angle, because I think coming prepared with maybe a question which might have come from reading that article, because you can kind of judge that that's where that person's going to come from on that panel, that you're more likely to ask that question if you've got that kind of burning away, rather than, when they put you on the spot at the end and say any questions, you're less likely to ask it unless you've thought about it before. So I do think research is good from that perspective.
Yeah. And it just kind of, as I say, kind of coming back to the goals, kind of, the other thing is, for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to go to this networking event and I'm going to try and secure at least 3 new business cards of contacts, and people I want to work with, have a conversation and follow up with them, and so kind of setting yourself some goals, either the number of people you've spoken to or number of kind of contacts and business contact details you've got of the people. It's a really good way of kind of coming at some of these networking events, and hopefully, scoping out some of the opportunities kind of going forward.
Yeah, and how do you follow that up afterwards, Toyin?
Well, recently, actually, in my freelance stuff, and actually even when I was working for a company, it tends to be just dropping off an email, so coming back next day and just kind of just going through, sometimes I've been quite good and come back with a nice big bulk of cards, but then obviously sifting through and working out who are the real people that I want to be in contact with and connect with. And then just a hi kind of email, nice to meet you yesterday, had a great conversation, drop in some link or something that we talked about in the conversation. It'd be great to meet you hopefully once COVID's over, for a coffee or for a chat or for a Zoom meeting, and just kind of leave it at that, really, and I think that's quite a nice way to kind of start the conversation. But also using things like LinkedIn, not necessarily to stalk people.
Well, well, you kind of get, you can't really stalk, can you? Because you get so-and-so checked out your profile.
Yeah, unless you've got LinkedIn Premium, then you can hide that.
Nice.
Top
tip, Toyin.
There's a plug. Toyin's on LinkedIn Premium commission there.
It was for a little while, but
if you use my code.
We need a graphic to pop up with subscribe now. I'll tell you what, one of the good things on LinkedIn is, though, my little pitch now, little VR code that you have for your profile.
Yeah.
Means that you can go, cardless, because I'm starting to now judge whether the card thing is cool or not. I'm not sure. I'm on either side of that fence sometimes. Like,
yeah, I've not used a business card, so I ran out of business cards most probably a year ago.
Yeah,
and I kind of keep going, I need to get some more business cards. And actually, most people, and nothing when you do networking events, most people tend to kind of go, what's your Instagram account? What's your Instagram? And people like to, if they're that interested in you, sometimes they will connect with you there and want to know what your social media hands are, and then you'll start communicating through that way. Depends on how traditional you want to be about this. I kind of, when it comes to professional stuff, I find it quite funny when people try to kind of have formal discussions or conversations with me through Instagram, and sometimes I think it's better to do it on email rather than to do it on.
Oh, see, there's me sliding into brands' DMs and.
Yeah.
I've had some great results from that, though, from Instagram. It depends the kind. I suppose you've got to gauge the brand itself or the person you're trying to connect with. But the lovely Give Credit on Instagram, who I've been working with, I totally got in touch with them I just loved their Instagram. I love what they did, and I got in touch with them on Instagram, and lo and behold, next thing we know, we're teaming up, and I've got Andrea coming over from Romania to do a lecture with the students. Sometimes it's
amazing
going ahead, but you're right, it depends on the person. You kind of make that judgment as well.
Yeah.
But I think that is very much that platform, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas
sure.
I think, going back to Toyin's point, LinkedIn, depends also the generation and the level, it depends on the market, because, on a certain generation, they may have an Instagram account, but that's going to be a very personal vibe. It's not going to be, natural platform for them to communicate. So they will want your email but the thing is, I mean, currently I think there is still a place for that sort of aesthetic of a business card, but I don't think anyone's going to want to touch them for a while, and I don't think anyone's going to want to sort of do that exchange. So I think it will be, the barcode or the AR code's good, or the barcode check the QR scan, and then linked in with an email, really.
We had that. I done it with a client a few months ago, actually. We used their LinkedIn page QR code, and we done it on a like a pull-up flyer, an event, and it went down really well, because straight away it's that thing of everyone wants to know what the code is, and then taking it to the LinkedIn page, you're automatically connected to the business element, and then that's something else to talk about. It's that kind of thing of, I've just seen your page on, and especially now I've seen a few things now where you can get like just a VR business card, or just like you do when you go on people's Instagram and it's got all their social links. You can do that with a business card now of all your portfolio and your contacts and what you've been up to. So I think it's definitely that there's still an element of the corporate traditional side of let's go with email and give business cards. But like Fran said, equally nowadays, it's a case of depending on how high up the company you want to go, you can easily get in contact with a brand on Instagram, because for sure you're going to get a reply from their socials. On them, it's kind of a case of if they want to connect with their customer on a personable, human level, they're wanting to reply to those DMs and them direct messages, and to actually connect with a customer rather than just being like, just contact sales@.co.uk,
Yeah.
So it's still, I think they're both still relevant, for sure.
And so how do you guys, when you are at networking events, aside from kind of, creating that elevator pitch to the people you really want to speak to, just the whole kind of mingling and then kind of having to create that conversation, how do you kind of go and kind of gate crash, someone else's conversation before we started? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Because sometimes I've kind of felt a bit like, oh God, on my own, and then just kind of, how you kind of just swoon along with your glass of wine and just kind of hi,
Have you ever done that one where you're standing there watching someone's conversation for a moment to get in, and it starts to be awkward at about a minute in, and you're like,
and then people kind of look at you and say, what are you doing here?
Yeah. No, carry on. I'm just...
Just
start taking notes.
Don't mind me.
Just going to get the dictaphone out.
How have you guys overcome that? How have you managed to kind of get yourself into that conversation, or approach a group in that where someone is holding court, in that kind of manner?
It's a vibe, isn't it? Got to give it a go. I think probably about the same amount of times that I've successfully managed to, elbow my way into a conversation. I've definitely been standing there like an absolute lemon, and then just turned and walked away. Which, either way, like, I think it is just you just have to give it a try. And the more that you get that kind of standing there feeling a total idiot feeling, the less that feeling actually like gets to you afterwards. You just kind of work out. I'm just going to get another glass of wine. The other thing is as well,
nothing gained, isn't it? Really,
I think
especially if you are, if you are kind of hungry, and it's kind of like, there have been times it's like do or die time. You've got to just go and talk to these people. If you don't, you're going to come back empty-handed. I managed to be like, what was you doing? Why did we send you off for a day to go to this event and you come back with what? And so sometimes you have to kind of literally just kind of throw yourself in and just, and the more you do it, the more easy it becomes, doesn't it? I think over time, and actually sometimes you just kind of stop caring.
It takes it sort of takes the pressure off the elevator pitch fear as well, because if you actually stand there and listen to a conversation rather than be thinking in my head, I am this person, I've done this, and this is what I want from this conversation, then it actually makes you a bit calmer, because you're listening to a conversation, you're thinking, well, that's an interesting point. And if you vocalise that, then that is so much more of a natural starting point to a conversation than, oh, hi, my name's so-and-so, and this is what I think about it, So it's a good opportunity, isn't it? Really, if it does work out.
And also kind of opening, maybe kind of asking people a question. So if you've gone to a panel talk or or an event, kind of ask them what their thoughts were on someone's particular topic or particular discussion that kind of happened, or did they find the event useful, and what they're going to take away from the event, so to speak. Anything like that. So
so how do we translate all of this in the current climate? How do we do that? How do we do that online?
One thing I was going to say was, just quickly, was, although not so much, well, still relevant for the current circumstances, but one thing I was trying to do is ask a question at a talk whenever possible. I mean, the first time I done it was horrible, because it's like everyone there is probably more experienced or has different experience, and you feel like everyone knows everyone and you're just this odd one out. But if you can ask a question at a talk that relates, not just to plug your own company or freelance work or whatnot, but if you ask a relevant question and then just introduce your name and who you work for, rather than being like, oh, and this is what I can do for your company. If you just get your name out there, there's a good chance that someone will come and speak to you afterwards and say, like, oh, I heard you were working for blah, blah, blah. But I think that's also relevant. I was in a webinar the other day, and when it was just asking for questions, I think General Assembly are normally quite good at it. They have like quite a lengthy Q&A at the end, and there they allow you to kind of not so much plug your brand, but kind of introduce yourself and ask a question. I think that's, at the moment, if anything, it's kind of easier, because you don't have to have that elevator pitch, that face-to-face. It's just behind a screen, you've got a name, and if you want to follow up on that lead, you can follow up in months to come when you kind of know a bit more about each other. But so that's how I'd say you could relate more, ask questions. Yeah.
But then it's putting yourself on the online platforms.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think, things like the General Assembly, like the dots and all those kind of things, it's about finding the right platforms that suit you as a person and your area of expertise.
Exactly.
And your area of growth, I guess, to then expose yourself, which at the moment, as you say, in one way, I guess, it's very accessible, but it's also quite overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
There's
so many going on. Yeah.
Going on out there, and also kind of thinking about the online kind of side of it. Coming back to LinkedIn again, don't want to kind of keep plugging it. We should take shares in this.
Yeah.
Afternoon B, sponsored by.
We have no affiliation with LinkedIn, just to clear that up in case, just in case.
But kind of thinking about LinkedIn and how underutilised it is by British people, And actually, one of my students kind of came up to me one time and told me that like 30% of the US population use LinkedIn versus only 6% of the UK population use it. And, and I've been on it, for however long, for like 10 years or so, but I've not really done very much on it. And only in most of the last 2 years, I've really become active, and whether it's freelance or whether it's within business, I think it's really important to kind of, one, go and find your contacts and connections through that forum, but also to kind of engage with their content, make sure that you're kind of commenting on things, make sure you're maybe posting about interesting things that you've seen going on, or changes and thought pieces, so to speak, because actually that kind of turns quite a lot of heads, and towards the end of last year I was using LinkedIn quite a lot, and people all of a sudden kind of like, oh, you haven't died then? Where do you think, because I've literally I've been silent on LinkedIn for most probably 18 months or so, but I just started pushing out all this stuff, and people are like, oh, you're still around, what are you doing? And then people then kind of emailing me, and actually it's led to lots of new opportunities, and people ask me to come to webinars and do training and all sorts of things. So, that's a really good forum to kind of try and raise your profile and keep an active live profile online.
So did you spend quite a lot of time prepping your profile in this sort of space? And if so, what kind of things did you really think about? Because I'm sort of looking at mine at the moment, and it's fine as in it's up to date, but it's not, I've been sort of trying to sort of summarise, how you do, Franny, with your you have kind of 2 or 3 sort of keywords of what you are, who you are type thing. Yeah. So, and then I go through flurries of, because I think, there's always what I find quite interesting content on LinkedIn, because it is sort of that sort of business approach, but within the people I follow, obviously it's within the sector that I'm interested in too. So, and then I'll go through weeks where I'm quite strict about checking it and then getting messages and responding, and then things take over, and I just go, so how you do your daily check-ins on your socials, that's not on there, but it should be, because actually I get a lot more information and articles from that than probably any of the other platforms that I'm on. So when you were sort of doing, upping it, how many times were you checking it? What were you?
So that's for me. I've usually got LinkedIn kind of rolling in the background on my desktop, and just kind of looking to see what's going on and kind of liking and commenting on people's posts. But also because I was kind of, one of the things that kind of turned it for me was when I was doing some of my own stuff. So I was kind of publicising and saying, hey, I've just done a sustainability talk with all these people, at this organisation, and when I was kind of posting stuff like that, then lots of, industry people were then kind of contacting me or kind of recognising me again, so to speak. So, whatever industry you're in, maybe look at how you can kind of get involved with that in any kind of space, whether it's kind of even just kind of posting saying, oh my God, I went to an amazing webinar last night on sustainability, and then put a link to the relevant, company or organisation that did that. That's a great way. If you can't shout about you doing it, if you can talk about going to something like that, then it kind of, makes people turn around and kind of go, oh, we now know what they're interested in and, what their thoughts are around that. And or they're engaging with similar people that I did engage with on this platform and in the wider world. So maybe we should be having a conversation.
Yeah.
You consciously chose content that was, it sounds like an obvious thing to say, but when you're sort of liking loads of stuff, you have to do you consciously the stuff that you were liking or that you're engaging with and commenting with, unless it was like a peer or a friend or a colleague, were you conscious about what you were liking and stuff, just so that it adhered to what your profile is? Because otherwise I think that's one of the things that I do read lots of things, and I've kind of got a cross sector of people that that I'm connected with across my years, but sometimes I wonder whether actually that could be quite confusing to
But also, it's kind of trying to open up those doors in other avenues, and even basic things like, when it says, so-and-so's just got a new job here, and it's kind of like just going on and just kind of saying, oh, congratulations on your job. And, there was a contact, a fashion buyer for a German store. I've never met her, but we connected online, but she changed her job, and I kind of went on and congratulated her. And then she emailed me. And we had a bit of a conversation, but it's kind of like, okay, I could put you on, now that we've connected, I can maybe put you on my list of potential people to be approaching when we're thinking about, looking at the stockists for, for brands and stuff like that. So even just simple things like congratulating people and just saying, well deserved in your new job, all the best for the future, that's amazing. It gets those people kind of going, who is this person?
Yeah. And what are your level, Louis, in terms of your sort of demographic and your age, basically, love.
Yeah, you're a young one.
You young whippersnapper.
Yeah, you say it. That's fine.
I'll name it. Well, it's only because back at Arcade when LinkedIn was just literally like an online CV and everyone was like, it's never gonna work.
Yeah.
What's your verdict on that sort of platform?
What I like, coming back to what you guys just said, is what stands out for me is this idea of conscious content. It's not just a case of, it's so cliche to say, but it's a case of quality over quantity. Like you say, you pick your content that you think resonates with you as a brand, as whether you're freelance or you're in a job, you as your personal brand, and you connect with the people that you think you can. It's the same as going to an event that you might meet 40 people, and in fact only 3 of them are actually leads that you would take forward. You don't need to feel like, I think sometimes that's a pressure for students and grads. Is kind of a case of once you graduate, it's like network, and then that's great, but it doesn't mean that you have to, from like meeting them online to meeting up with them. It doesn't have to be that way for every single person. Some of them, like Toyin said, when she disappeared off LinkedIn for a few months and then came back, it might just be like that. It doesn't have to be you're in contact with them every week. It's just building up that rapport. But I think for me the difference is, see, nowadays it's more so getting work through social media, not just LinkedIn. I think the big thing for me was distinguishing between a personal Instagram and a work Instagram. That's what really made it. At first, when I first graduated, it was a case of I just had one. And then as time went on and I realised I was giving people my Instagram, I was thinking, okay, whatever I'm putting pictures up of wherever I am, that's fine, but does that speak about me in a professional sense? Like, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with people having pictures of their personal cats, dogs, or whatever, but it's nice to have your own personal one and then to have a work one that resonates and speaks about you as a brand. Because at the end of the day, more so now than ever, people are turning to social media to see who you are as a person. Especially in the current circumstances, okay, I might see what someone's like on LinkedIn, but to see what they're like as a person and what they stand for and their voice as such, you go to more of their Instagram to see what their day-to-day life is like. So I think that's the main not difference as such. I think that's the progression of it in a way. I still use LinkedIn the same as Toy and I have it running in the background, but I think the main difference there is my LinkedIn is my business space, whereas my Instagram is my business voice. I think that's that's the main thing for me.
Yeah.
It can be quite an asset though as well to have. I suppose it depends what the area of focus is, because I think that is the key thing out of this, is that considered approach to what you like or what you follow or who you follow, and that relating specifically to those keywords that you've put in the main description of who you are. You can get into quite, I suppose, almost like an echo chamber of thought in like LinkedIn. If you're following it, saying like sustainability, you're following everybody that follows the same stuff. So you're quite often seeing the same content being reshared and reshared. So it can be useful sometimes to, once you've got the depth of knowledge and the depth of contacts in that area, to branch out again, just to have, so you're not in an echo chamber and you're not hearing the same stuff over and over again. But I think also in terms of like having an Instagram, I think because sustainability and any kind of research into the area of ethics, it's more of a lifestyle than, say, I suppose, like a business approach, as it were. So being able to back up your lifestyle can sometimes be a plus if it's something that goes that deep, if it goes beyond a job description, for example. So if you are kind of interested in an area that's, very much more of a lifestyle, then I think sometimes having more about yourself in a kind of personal branding point of view can also be quite an asset from that as well.
Sure. And as you say, it's from the perspective of the job or the career you're going for, right? And like you said, yeah, that's a good point. I should have made it clearer that it's not a case of you're this person on your personal Instagram and you're this person on your business. It's just a case of finding that level of connection and what your potential employer or client or person you're linking with is going to resonate with more. So I think that's the one thing I think is really good at the moment, especially with, as you said, there's so many webinars, masterclasses and all them going on. But if you can find one that resonates with you, or like Fran said, if you're being bogged down with content that you're seeing all the time and you want to try something new, a lot of the time now, I joined one last month, a strategy boot camp, and they've got their own Facebook community. So when you sign up to the boot camp, you're part of the community, and it's nothing difficult. People just put in like what's going on with brands at the moment and what's going on in the wider world and kind of thoughts and opinions. And just through that, just a comment saying what you think, or just saying, "Oh, no, I agree with what you said there. That's nice," or "I think of it this way. What do you think?" And then you get contacts through that and connections through that, and you start getting that voice out there in a way that's not so. If you're a bit nervous or unsure how to put yourself out in a business voice, starting to bring in your personal opinion into the matter is kind of a nice way into it, I think.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to those sort of micro networks, don't they? So I think you have your bigger sort of, your big wider sort of who I am, but I think that's a really good point. And, I know quite a lot of people in outside the academic world in leadership roles, and they all have, when they get to the C's in their title, they all have like, this club or this, not a club, but they have like groups where exactly what you're saying in terms of your strategy and stuff, so that it's, they're all at the same level across different companies, but they can share their thoughts because, it gets, and they sort of share content. And the same, with like leadership in the academic as well, they have, they have leadership sort of groups and stuff like that because, there's less people generally around at that, the sort of, as you move up. And I think that's a supportive network as well, isn't it? So I think it's not just about getting the in. It's about the supporting and the sort of collaboration and how you collaborate projects together. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think you build, I suppose that's technically what some of the groups are about on LinkedIn. And I think sometimes they get a bit lost, but fundamentally, I think that's, they're supposed to, you should actively be involved in those kind of things if they are exactly what Fran and what you just said, that it's sort of topics of similarity, that are quite important to you. Yeah.
Mm. And I think, coming back to that and talking about the groups, aside from LinkedIn, that's where Facebook is really good for that. And kind of having lots of kind of these sub kind of community groups, and I, when I first kind of left my job, it was kind of saying, oh, you should join all these different groups, it's like women in business, creative business, entrepreneurs, and it's just kind of like, there's loads and loads of groups across different topics and different themes. Mums on the run is one of them, which is quite amusing. Mums that like to kind of go for a run with their buggies and stuff like that. I'm not a mum, but anyway. But
oh yeah, don't diss the mum Facebook group.
I'm not going to diss the mums. I'm loving the mums.
Yeah, mums net.
Yeah,
loving the mums.
Oh. Yeah,
but
the Mum's network on Facebook is immense. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't want to necessarily go on LinkedIn and kind of do it on there, Facebook's another really great place to find and access, potential communities and groups where you can network and find jobs or find projects and find people you can work with.
Yeah.
Some of the business networking groups I've been in, people always putting shout outs and going, I need someone to help me on my website, or does anybody know about, anybody know about how to access stock lists, and then you kind of say, I can help you with that. So it's a great way to kind of communicate, keep engaged. I don't know whether or not millennials still use Facebook, because I think it was kind of like, but anyway, either way, I think it's still a really good tool. You've got that time and space in your day to be able to kind of engage with those groups and definitely maximise them.
I think
so I suppose it's about frameworking and kind of what we're saying is that I think it's great. It's just about finding oneself, isn't it? Yeah. And then deciding what you want to be, and then managing the content you're engaged with, because you kind of get these, like you said, when you first went, it's just like, join this group, and you kind of go, yeah, that's great. And then you sign up to them, and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's too much noise. And then you kind of just go, and then you just turn, and then you're like, and I think it's that bit of the FOMO, fear of missing out, like you're saying, Lou, you have to be quite disciplined about, because it's better to have less and invest in that space, try them out. You don't have to stay. It could be like, here's the list that everyone gave me. I'm going to dabble in 3 for 2 weeks, and then see what I feel, because it's about the vibe as well. I think, when you said earlier about meeting people or whatever, you get a vibe, you get a vibe of people, you get to a certain pace where you kind of know yourself a little bit, and you kind of just can sort of start, you're not always right, but most of the time, when I first met Toy, and Fran, no, but you know what I mean? It's just like, it's you just sort of have an unspoken conversation, but there's an energy there, and I think you just sort of learn that, and you can adapt that online. So you can get, the comments and stuff, Toy, and you must have been in some groups where you just think, that's not my tone, that's not my voice, I'm not interested in that kind of conversation, I didn't sign up for that, and then it's just like, bye, and you have to have the confidence to leave, I think, as well as join.
That's a big thing, saying no as well. That's one thing I learned, is just, especially when you're starting out, the hardest, you just want to say yes to everything. Me and Toyin were saying this the other day, everything, like, I'll do that, not realising that actually you're going to have to probably do that on a Saturday evening or something. But that's another big thing, like Charlotte said, try and test. Don't do everything at once, just take as much on as you can. If it's just one group for a month, that's fine, just give it a try. But at the same time, everything that comes through, consciously think, how is this going to benefit my career? How is this going to benefit me in the long run? And how is this connection going to benefit me at the end of the day? Because there's nothing worse than getting further down the line, thinking, oh, this is great, and then you realise that relationship is toxic because of what they're asking you to do is actually either out of your pay grade or your ability, and that's, so you just need to take it with a steady hand and a level head. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, and one last thing around kind of, because we talked a lot about platforms and forums and so forth. Another kind of way, if, hopefully one day we'll come out this whole kind of COVID situation and we'll be able to kind of engage on a face-to-face, basis rather than kind of on Zoom. But if you are looking for events, it's kind of like, well, where do I start? How do I find a networking event? Eventbrite is a great place. When I kind of went freelance, I spent a lot of time just going, finding lots of business events, or going to training workshops like General Assembly and doing lots of training there and kind of networking with people. Going to UK Fashion Textile Association. They have a whole kind of community called UKFT Rise, which is all about small businesses, creatives, individuals, going along to their networking talks, meeting with companies, meeting with individuals, similar kind of position, sharing each other's woes and highs, so to speak. But, that's a really great place to kind of look, so look on Eventbrite, think about trade associations, organisations that can, possibly do events. Another one, Loan Design Club. Me and Fran were on their panel a couple of weeks ago, as well as being a pop-up shop. They also do lots of at the moment online events, but as well they do experiential in-store events, lots of networking talks and so forth throughout the evening. So even if you don't want to do it during the day, you can do it in the evening kind of thing. And I think that's a really good way of kind of meeting new people and kind of working out what it is and what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
There's another one called Meetups as well.
Yeah.
And that's quite a good one because that makes it really, really easy to start your own meetup as well. It doesn't need to be an event that has, a kind of a speaker or something. It can literally be a networking event. And actually, for anyone that's a student listening to this, if you've got a research project, I created a meetup purely to test out an idea that I had for a company when I was doing my master's. And it was like, I called it the startup surgery. And the first meetup was about my idea, but the people that came along to it also had ideas. And then we went to every single one, like there were 7 more to go to, everyone else's idea. I've never seen those people since, but that was a fantastic focus group of people that I didn't know and that didn't know my idea. So had no, reason to tell me something nice about my idea just because they're my friend. So you get a real, in terms of like research methodology, some of these things allow you to test out ideas outside of your friendship group as well. So use it to your best of your ability as a student as well.
But that also then allows you to explore your professional persona.
Yeah.
And I think that is, there is a difference. I think, going back, I think there is a difference between your personal Instagram and your professional. If you're like a freelancer, and it can look like your personal Instagram, but it's a very conscious content. Again, it comes back to that, doesn't it? Because there's certain things you want to portray. So I think everyone does have a professional persona. So to be able to sort of experiment with that as well, because that takes quite a while to understand what your professional self is. Like, I want to be kind and I want to be considerate, but I also don't want to get rinsed for every hour of my life and get taken, which I've been. I've been there. Like you say, when I started up, it's just like, yes, of course, yes. And then suddenly you're left with nothing to give to yourself or anyone else.
Yeah.
But you felt like that was the right thing to do, and then you have to evolve. And, so I think there is, you do have to experiment to what your professional standing is, but with understanding what your own brand, whatever you're saying, is your values and what your ethics are, I think,
And just one quick thing I was thinking is, don't discredit your classmates that you graduated with or that you were at uni with. Again, it's all about creating new connections, but there's no reason that you can't connect with people you were in your class with or who were on FPI when you were on FMM, for example, because at the end of the day, you're all in the same boat. And if someone's got a piece of work, 9 times out of 10, there's a good chance that there'll be part of it that you might not be as confident on or you're not too sure about. And there's a good chance that someone in your class or in another class or whoever will have that experience or a bit more knowledge. And then there's that idea of collaboration. And then that builds kind of your own little kind of subgroup. And then you take it from there and you don't know where them opportunities could take you. So I think as much as it is about making new connections, you shouldn't forget about the connections you already have, especially at the business school. The amount of courses and opportunities there are to network and collaborate and work together, you definitely shouldn't forget about that because they're vital professional skills at the end of the day.
Yeah, I hope we see some more kind of joint FMPs, joint final major projects, I feel like those exactly tackling that thing of, very rarely are you a kind of a great all-rounder at absolutely everything, and to take that project the next level, to make contacts with other people within the creative industries, which, like you say, luckily in the business school that you do have that ability to have so many different creative industries all under one place, that the ability to do a joint FMP is there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like make the most of it. So hopefully that'd be quite nice to see.
Yeah, there's definitely people. I think when we sort of were discussing this session, I think the network is, and it doesn't have to be a hardball network. It can be, they're from all walks of life. There's definitely people that I've met at a time that's very poignant in my life that I never knew. I met someone and I just you connect, and in a completely professional environment. But there's obviously that sort of layer of connection that sort of makes it a bit more sort of friendly as well. And then you meet them and you just know that you're not quite sure why you've met them now, because it doesn't quite make sense. But then it can be up to 5, 10. I've met people 20 years ago. In fact, I'm working with someone at business school right now that I first met 15 years ago, and I sat down and had a conversation with her, and we got on really well, and we stayed in touch very vaguely, and she's now come back, and it's just, we just laugh about the fact that we're now working really closely together, and when I first met her, I knew that she was there was something about her that I wanted to stay connected with, but I didn't quite understand what it was, and then it took taken 15 years to actually transpire to, oh, here we are, this is why we met. And I've got people throughout, there's loads of things, through having my own business, to my university, to my school friends. There's a whole wealth of people that I've met along the way that at the time I've connected with, that they weren't quite right for that moment, and then suddenly anywhere you're just that's why I met you. Right, okay. And then it's oh, here we are. And it is an incredible, when you say be nice to everyone, and the world's a very small place,
For sure, definitely.
You never know who and when and where they will pop up. But yeah.
You should never kind of disregard anybody in that kind of respect, because you never know. And even for me now, kind of working at the business school over the last year or so, actually I've kind of been going through my LinkedIn black book, and it's so and so who I was kind of working with one of the business. I can get them in to come and be a guest lecturer, and and again it's kind of I haven't had a conversation with them for 5 years or so, but just kind of saying we'd love to have them come and talk about the experiences of students, and it's kind of revived a whole aspect of my my contacts and connections and networks, and within my my previous life, so to speak.
Yeah, it was great. Oh,
I think we're going to have to tie up there, guys, because we've run on later than we should. We've rambled on, but that was all gold dust.
Razzle dazzle.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in again, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please, as always, leave us your feedback, comments. As I say, still newbies to the whole situation, but hopefully over the next few weeks we're going to do a few more lives, a few more chances for you guys to come on and speak to us, bring up some topics that you guys want to hear about. Thanks also for all your jingles. They've been flooding in. We've got a grand total of 0 at the moment. So
come on, jingle us up.
There must be one. There must be someone who just knows a jingle somewhere down the line. So if we can follow that through for this week, that would be great. Or at least the last episode. At least if we can just get one for that. Doesn't matter how long it takes.
Otherwise, Louis going to do something with my laugh cackle. Come on,
yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a strong contender at the moment. But thanks for hosting today, Toyin. That was great.
It was great.
Valuable for all of us. And we hope to.
All your contributions, guys. It was great.
Oh, thanks for having us.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So I think we'll leave it there for today.
What's up next week?
It's me.
Yes.
Yeah. What are we doing next week, Fran?
Yeah. Huh?
What are we doing?
Oh, well, we're going to be talking about the change of circumstances for fashion weeks and fashion calendars, and throw all our ideas in, what's good, what's not. Be there or be square.
Be square. See what you did there.
Yeah, very nice. Perfect. So, we'll see you same time, same place next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you then.
Great. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you.